Have you ever had that feeling? The one where you just feel adrift, kind of floating between who you were and who you're supposed to be next? If that sounds at all familiar, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to talk about that feeling not as something to be scared of, but as a really important part of the journey.
So let's just start with this right out of the gate. You are not lost. I know, it absolutely feels that way. That sense of confusion, that deep uncertainty, it's very real, and honestly, it can feel pretty overwhelming. But there's a reason for it. It's because that version of you who had all the answers, the one who knew the plan, that version of you just doesn't exist anymore. And that is such a disorienting feeling, to realize you're standing somewhere totally new, and your old guide, your old self, is gone. So let's dive into this space. We're calling it that in-between feeling. It's that exact moment when you look down at the map you've been using your whole life and realize it doesn't lead anywhere you actually want to go anymore. Does any of this hit home? The things that used to make perfect sense suddenly feel off? The goals that you were chasing for so long, they just don't light you up anymore. And that path you were so sure about, it just feels like it belongs to someone else now. This isn't you failing. It's a huge sign that something deep inside is changing. This, right here, this is the spot. You're hanging out right in the middle, in this gap between who you were and who you're in the process of becoming. And even though it feels weird, this space is actually where all the potential is. But yeah, let's be real, mostly it just feels like confusion. It feels like you've lost all your direction, because all the old landmarks are gone, and you can't quite see the new ones yet. Of course it feels like you've lost your bearings. But what if confusion is the wrong word? What if we've been mislabeling this feeling the whole time? Let's try to reframe this, because maybe what feels like being lost is actually something else. There's actually a name for this whole process. It's called a transition. And look at the definition here. It's the process of shedding an old identity before a new one is fully there. And notice its main symptom. It's not being lost. It's a feeling of uncertainty. That's a really, really important difference. And this, right here, is probably the biggest takeaway. We think growth is supposed to feel amazing and clear, like we're climbing a mountain. But it's not like that at all. Real growth, the kind that matters, almost always feels like uncertainty. It feels like you don't know what you're doing. Okay, so why? Why does it have to feel so unstructured and messy? What's actually happening here? Well, you can think of it in three simple parts. First, you're letting go of who you used to be. Second, the new you isn't fully built yet, it's still a work in progress. And third, your brain, which loves things to be neat and predictable, freaks out a little. It sees this gap, this lack of a solid identity, and it hits the panic button labeled, "We're lost." So again, you're not lost. You've just outgrown your old self. You're just not aligned with that person anymore. The problem isn't your destination, it's that you've moved on from your starting point. And that brings us to something a little deeper, maybe the most uncomfortable part of this whole thing. We have to figure out where that discomfort is really coming from. Let's just sit with that for a second. The real ache, it's not the fear of the future. It's the grief for the past. It's realizing that the door to who you used to be has closed and you can't go back. And that's the kicker, isn't it? Even if you tried to go back, you couldn't. It's like trying to wear the clothes you wore when you were 10. They just wouldn't fit. You've grown, you've expanded. That old life just isn't your size anymore. So that's the deal, really. That's the trade. In order to find a new, better direction, you first have to give up the comfort of being certain. It's like you have to tear down the old building before you can start building the new one. Okay. And now, this is where things start to shift. This is where we get to the good part, embracing the incredible possibility that's hiding in all this mess. So, thinking about everything we've just talked about, maybe that feeling isn't confusion after all. Maybe what you're feeling is just the raw, chaotic, and beautiful process of transformation actually happening. That shaky, unstable ground you feel like you're on, that isn't a sign that you're failing. That is the workshop. That is the very space where something new and incredible is trying to form. So I'm going to leave you with this thought. Instead of asking yourself, where am I going? Maybe try a different question. Just get quiet and ask yourself, what new shape is trying to form in me?